It is anything but business as usual at the Capitol as a chaotic first day of Congress adjourned without a new Speaker of the House.
For the first time in a century, the election of a House Speaker reached multiple ballots, with Republican Congressman Kevin McCarthy facing opposition within his own party, failing to tally the necessary votes. And joining us from Washington is ABC congressional correspondent Rachel Scott and Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl. Good afternoon to the both of you.
Good afternoon.
Hey, guys.
All right, Rachel, we'll start with you. Help us understand the historic nature of what happened yesterday and what's next in the battle for House Speaker.
Well, DeMarco, Rhiannon, this is something that we really have not seen here on Capitol Hill in 100 years. It's the first time in a century that we have seen a nominee for Speaker fail on the first vote. So in just a few hours, we will see the House reconvene, and then they will go through another round of voting here. The big question is whether or not Kevin McCarthy has enough support to clinch the Speaker's gavel. I could tell you that, of course, this does have a big impact here on Capitol Hill. No members of Congress can be sworn into office. The business of the House is essentially on hold until there is a Speaker of the House. So right now, it's just uncertain how this plays out. But I can tell you that this is going to drag out for as long as it takes, guys.
And John, you called this a colossal embarrassment on GMA. What are the political implications of what we saw yesterday? And if it's this difficult for Republicans to agree on a Speaker, what's the outlook for the GOP going forward?
Well, consider what Rachel is talking about here. The House is not even a functioning House right now. Literally, it has no members because the swearing in of the newly elected members, and the entire class is newly elected, as you know, every 2 years, can't happen until the Speaker is first chosen, so the committees aren't formed. Republicans came in with a lot of bluster about how they were going to investigate the Biden administration, the Biden family. Well, guess what? None of those investigations can go forward because there are no committees formed. So the implications for the Republicans, really, beyond being a colossal embarrassment, it raises questions about the ability of Republicans to govern. I mean, when you look at the vote, to me, the most striking thing was not just that this is the first time in a century that we've seen it go past one ballot, but the fact that McCarthy actually got fewer votes, that the choice, the main choice for Republicans got fewer votes for Speaker than the liberal Democrat put forward by Democrats, Hakeem Jeffries. Got more votes than Kevin McCarthy. That's a heck of a start to a Congress where you have theoretically just gained control. Republicans were, coming in. They've gained control of Congress, but have they? Nobody has control of Congress.
Yeah, and Jonathan mentioned new members. Rachel, yesterday was George Santos' first day in Congress, and ongoing admissions of a line about his personal and professional qualifications. It sort of, put this black eye on him. What can you tell us about his first day at the Capitol? He looked a little awkward at times, sitting by himself.
Oh, definitely. And he spent most of the day really avoiding our cameras and avoiding our questions. Our team pressed him repeatedly about whether or not he believes that he should still be able to represent his constituents after admitting to misrepresenting large parts of his resume. I mean, we're talking about everything from his education to his background, where he used to work. I mean, all of that was embellished heavily. Right now, he is defiant. He says that he's going to be sworn into Congress. He wants to be a member here. He has communicated with other Republicans back in his home state of New York that he will not run for a second term. But again, this is a big question for leadership because Republican leadership has been silent when it comes to George Santos. And the one thing that Santos did tell us yesterday is that he's backing Kevin McCarthy for Speaker, guys.
And the headlines, of course, mostly about Santos and that Speaker vote. But there are a lot of historic firsts with this. The first woman and LGBTQ representative from Vermont is one of them. And new Congress will have its first ever Generation Z member, Maxwell Frost of Florida. So, John, you actually recently sat down with Frost for this week. What did you take away from that conversation?
Well, the big takeaway is keep an eye on this guy. He's 25 years old. That's the absolute youngest you can be to be a member of the House. He won a race that was incredibly competitive. There were 10 candidates in the Democratic primaries from Orlando. There were 10 candidates, including 2 former members of the House and 1 current member of the Florida State Legislature. So he went up against some big players. Nobody really expected him to have a chance of winning. But he went in. He raised over $1 million before that primary, and then ended up winning decisively. He's a progressive. He's in the mold of AOC and members of the squad. But I think that, the conversation, one thing that struck me is he understands, at least I got the sense he understands, about going for major big goals on things like universal health care and fighting climate change and ending gun violence. But he says that he understands you have to make incremental change at times. So I think he has the potential to be a big player in this Congress. He will stand out, and we'll see. He's 25 years old, but he seemed a heck of a lot more savvy and experienced than his years would suggest.
Yeah, one thing is certain, he's not afraid to face a challenge. ABC's Rachel Scott and Jonathan Karl, thanks to the both of you.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.